How does that whole concept of the Indigenous artwork become like a inspiring component for your pop culture course or your photography program?
All through our program, so let's just go a little wider on the answer first. All through our program, we're teaching storytelling because I think storytelling is important in photography. Certainly, it is in any sort of arts. But occasionally, we're making a single photograph. Sometimes we're making a series of photographs, and there's a narrative between the photographs. But storytelling is always important. What's going on in popular culture and how popular culture artwork is created, and maybe where people are pulling inspiration from. So one of the ways that stories are told through the generations in Aboriginal artwork would be through artwork, through storytelling in the artwork, and then it's passed on to the next generation. And I realize that storytelling is told that way. And then beyond that, I just think it's really important because there's beautiful artwork that maybe we're overlooking or we don't have the knowledge on. So if we can bring in a professional from the outside to tell us about storytelling, it's a way that the students can learn. And they can see, oh, it's told this way in this particular style of art. Maybe I can pull some inspiration from that and help me create my own artwork. So every year we bring our students to New York City. We go on a 5-day field study there, and I think it's really important. So I thought at least going to New York, it's kind of top of the hill, right? So there's a number of things that we do while we're in New York City. One of the great things we've done in New York City right from the beginning is that we go to this museum there called the National Museum for the American Indian. We go there because I really think there's this really amazing storytelling that goes on between generations in Aboriginal art. But I think there's a lot that they can draw just from being in the museum, but when they really zone in on one specific piece of art, then it's up to them to interpret that piece of art. And I get some amazing submissions. Every year, everything's like I never get anything that is uninspired. There's always really good submissions from that particular project. And that's why we go. But we're also tying storytelling into our photography. So if you look at any of these photographs, there's probably some sort of storytelling element. And that's brought to you through technical skills. All through the first year we do a lot of, there's theory, but we're really working on our technical skills. Students have these amazing creative ideas. We get them to pre-visualize their ideas, but it's really the technical skills that help you pull those ideas out of your head. We want students to have a passion about something that they want to photograph, but we want to incorporate creativity into the shots as well. And you can just take a look around. I mean, any of these shots, they're all wonderfully, creatively, and technically executed. They're here for a reason because they are really great photographs, not just for the content, but from the way that they were made as well. You can just look at these 3 photographs, for example. There's a story going on in every one of these. This is a moment that's captured. I think we're on the subway in New York City here. This is a composite that's created by one of our students. But, you know, I don't even have to tell you what's going on in these photographs. You can make up your own story. And that's a wonderful thing about any sort of artwork, that the interpretation's up to the viewer.
Why did you want to record all these major rock bands?
Okay.
When you started photography?
Well, I've always had this kind of interest in photography. So working as a photographer was something that interested me from years ago. But even more importantly to what I do now, or what I've done in the last 25, 30 years, is that I grew up with this absolute obsession with music. Like you mentioned, I've had the opportunity to work with some of my favorite acts. Like if you would have told me in high school that I would have worked and met the guys from Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd or AC/DC or anything like that, there's no way you could have convinced me that that was going to come true. But I've photographed all those people now. You know, I've met Ringo Starr from the Beatles, and I've been able to photograph The Who and the Rolling Stones, all these people I've been big fans of. And then the Tragically Hip, I photographed the Tragically Hip about 150 times, so a lot of concert work. And that's had a huge impact on me. I mean, I'm a huge fan of their music, but working with them as people has been a big thing also. And you're probably aware of this, but Gord, Downie, the singer, before he died, one of the things that he wanted to really do was bring this truth and reconciliation to light to people that live, Canadian citizens, I guess you could say. And it's something that I didn't know anything about, the residential schools. You've educated me quite a bit on that. but it really was brought to light to me by Gord Downie, which is, it's a bit embarrassing to talk about, but when you think about it, it's so important that it comes out in the open now. And what's really amazing about it is Gord's created all this art, he's created all this amazing music, he has legions of fans across the country, but that wasn't important to him before he died. What was important to him was that he made people aware of what happened in the residential schools. He used his voice with 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million fans across the country, and he used his voice for that before he died. It says a lot about his character. I shot 9 shows on the final tour, and they were really emotional moments during those shows. But after the tour was done, this is what Gord brought out into the open, and I'm really proud to say that I've done a lot of work with him. And hopefully, with what we're doing in our program, we can bring some of that into the light as well. I'm 50 years old, and I never knew anything about it until 2 years ago. All the academic institutions in Canada now, or hopefully in North America, are going to help bring this out into the light, and we can find ways to make things right.